That is ridiculous. Didn't I just tell you that Savarino called Holbrook asking what he was going to do with the tapes? It was Savarino who called him. Doesn't that show that it was Savarino's work? Didn't I just tell you that Cecilia in Peekskill disclaimed any knowledge of having the Wappingers tapes in Peekskill? You know, Judge Wood, these people require that we have a community signer, but they do not operate public access on a community basis. I went to Yonkers Cablevision up in Executive Park Court, okay, Glendora, with my friend David just now. There's nobody there. They're operating public access with a bookcase full of tapes, and no, there's only one person, I was told, and she's not in today. Not in today, I asked? No, she's not in every day because she goes to other cable systems. How Cecilia is running Yonkers public access from 10 municipalities away up in Peekskill. They require us to be community, but they're not community. They're counties away. The court, okay, go ahead, Mr. Sarok. Mr. Sarok, you refer to Cecilia as Cecilia. It's your understanding that she works for Savarino, is that correct? That is my understanding. Certainly made that clear. Mr. Sarok, and you also testified about the fact that there was a court case in White Plains against Miss Savarino. Is that correct? Glendora, yes. No. No. Mr. Sarok, I'm sorry, against Miss Masterilli. Glendora, yes, I understand what you meant. Mr. Sarok, and in that case you allege that Miss Masterilli interfered with the relationship between Miss Sulaco and Cablevision. Isn't that correct? Glendora, say it again, please. That Cecilia interfered with it? Mr. Sarok, correct. Glendora, I would have to see the record. Mr. Sarok, you testified earlier that Cecilia said bad things to Miss Sulaco about you, and that's why Miss Sulaco... Oh, no, I Sarok, may I please finish my question? No, because it's wrong already. The court, well, let him. He has to get his question out first, one at a time. You indicated earlier you want to have a clean record for purposes of appeal. This is hardly a clean record, Wood, for purposes of appeal. Hardly a clean record. I've never seen such a mess. Says, Wood, we want to make sure everybody's rights are protected in terms of having a clean record for appeal. No, so let him get his question all the way out. Go ahead. Sarah, was it not your testimony earlier that Miss Masterilli made some comment to Miss Sulaco that caused her not to renew the local sponsorship at Cablevision? See how he changed it around? Glendora, no, I said that Kaibat said that Cecilia said you were bad. It is Cecilia told me you were bad. That is what I said. Mr. Sarok, and that was the substance of your claim in White Plains, correct? No! I don't understand what you mean, that it was the substance of what claim in White Plains. Mr. Sarok, you didn't make a claim in White Plains? Glendora, on what? Sarok, against Miss Masterilli? I made a claim in White Plains against Mrs. Masterilli, or Miss Masterilli. The question was asked and the question was answered. Now you're saying the claim was what? Mr. Sarek, well, I have a copy of your complaint if that will refresh your recollection. But didn't you allege that Miss Masterilli interfered with your relationship with Miss Sulaco in White Plains? To White Plains. Glendora, I'd have to see the record. Mr. Sarek, and in that case a default was entered against Miss Masterilli because Miss Masterilli didn't appear in court, correct? Glendora, and neither did you. Mr. Sarek, is that, could you please answer the question? Glendora, that is correct, and neither did you. Mr. Sarek, Your Honor, I'm not sure. The court, she answered the question. Mr. Sora, okay, all right. And now you're alleging in this case that Miss Savarino interfered with the same relationship, correct? Glendora, I don't know. I'd have to go through the record and have it in front of me. You are confusing me. You're always confused. Mr. Sora, so you have no recollection of these issues that you testified about earlier. Okay, that's halfway through. We got 15 minutes to go on this tape. What do you think of this, folks? What do you think of this? We're on page 63 out of 125. Glendora, I am not saying that. I am saying I want to see the record. You can put the question in writing to me if you want, and I'll go through the papers. The court, all right, he's entitled to ask you what your recollection is. If you don't recall, that's fine, but try and answer the question as he puts it to you. Glendora, I don't understand this question. It confuses me. The court, okay, ask the question again if you would, Mr. Sora. Mr. Sora, isn't it the case that you sued Miss Masterilli in White Plains for interfering with the sponsorship relationship between Miss Sulaco and Cablevision? Glendora, I'd have to go back and read the White Plains complaint. Sora, wasn't it your testimony earlier that Tybach said to you that Miss Masterilli said that you are a bad person? No, it is not my testimony. Let me give it to you again. My testimony was exactly what I've said 3 or 4 times. Tybach said to me, Cecilia said you were bad, Mr. Sora, and as a result of that, your claim is that Miss Sulaco did not renew her sponsorship agreement at Cablevision. Is that correct? That is on information and belief. Yes. Sora, so that was your claim here, and that was your claim in White Plains, correct? I don't know about White Plains. I'd have to go back and review it. Sora, did you drop the complaint that was submitted to White Plains? What? Sora, did you drop the complaint that was filed with the court in White Plains? Glendora, the court. Sora, Your Honor, I'd like to mark as evidence our submission on our motion. I'm going to present a copy of it to the witness. Glendora, oh no. Mr. Sora and Glendora, this is against small claims. The court, this is an exhibit. Small claims is supposed to be a simplified procedure. This is a violation of small claims. Court, no, it's not. This is an exhibit. It's not looking at this for any other reason other than as an exhibit. This is nothing that you need to respond to. This is just their exhibit. This is not a motion. But it's already in the court. And it's been in the court for months. And this is duplication. And it's adumbration. And it's costing me money, these minutes. And it's costing time. Glendora says, I'm really getting fed up. Small claims is supposed to be a simplified procedure. This case has gone on since May. And where are we today? Back at, and then Wood says, we're going to decide it. We're going to at least finish your testimony today. So take a look at this if you'd like. Glendora, now can you finish testimony? How can you finish testimony when Savarino isn't here to answer my questions? The court, take a look at what's been provided to you. We're marking this as Defendant's Exhibit A. I ask you again, Wood, how can you finish it today when Savarino isn't here to answer the questions? Glendora, I don't want to look at it. The court, okay. I've already looked at it. I've already spent hours, dollars, and labor answering it. I don't want to look at it. I have been through so many. Do you know how many hours I spent on this case? The court, I'm asking you to look at it only for your own protection and for your own purposes here. If you don't wish to look at it, you don't have to look at it. Okay, we're going to mark this as Defendant's A. Mr. Sarok, can I ask you to review? Take a look at what's Exhibit 5 in Defendant's Exhibit A. Glendora, what is it? Mr. Sarok, or do you refuse? The court, okay, turn to what's been marked. There's tabs on there. Glendora, show it to me, please. The court, turn it to the proper page, if you would, Mr. Sarok. Mr. Sarok, I'd ask you to review that document. I'd pull it over for you and tell me if you recognize it. Are we talking about Cablevision makes Glendora get a local resident to sign? Mr. Sarok, look at the whole document. Glendora, what whole document? Why doesn't he deal with the issue? Did Savarino chase away my signers? Did Glendora go out and get new signers? Did Glendora present to you the proof that she got new signers, and did she present to you the proof, the hours and dollars that it cost her to get new signers? Mr. Sarok, the document that's Exhibit 5. Glendora, do you mean by document this one page? The court, it's a multiple page document. The 2 pages appears to be an intake sheet for White Plains City Court, and then it appears all the pages following that appear to be your complaint. Glendora, this costs Glendora time, money, travel, postage, and printing. Mr. Sarok, I'm asking you if you recognize it. You don't have to read it to us. Recognize it in what way? Mr. Sarok, do you recognize it? Do I need to simplify the question more than that? I don't even understand your last question. The court, did you prepare this? Glendora, did I? Well, my signature is there. The court, okay. So in other words, you signed this document. You've seen this document before, correct? Glendora, prima facie. The court, okay, and that goes for all the pages following within. Glendora, I don't know what all the pages are. It certainly goes with the complaint. My signature is there. The court, it appears to be the same handwriting that's on the document. Well, my signature is there. The court, okay. Sarah, I'd ask you to turn to page 16 of this exhibit. Tell me if it's your handwriting on page 16. Glendora, the whole thing is my handwriting. You know that. Mr. Sarok, look at paragraph sigma. Does it say in the first sentence that this is how and why Cecilia exercised extortion on the defendant, Tybat Slacko, and got Tybat to back down? Is that what it says? Glendora, that's what it says. Mr. Sarok, is that your handwriting? How many times has that question been asked and answered? Glendora, but I don't know what this is referring. Mr. Sarok, is that your handwriting? Glendora, wait a second. I don't know what this how and why is referring to. Mr. Sarok, well, that's not my question. Do you recognize the handwriting? I recognize the handwriting. Sarok, and is it yours? Yes, but I do not know what this is, how and why Cecilia exercises extortion. Mr. Sarok, and it says at the bottom of the page, Glendora offered several times to help Tybat expand Tybat's peak skill business to White Plains. Is that correct? That is correct. Sarok, and it says that on the next page, Glendora asked Tybat if she could use 27 videotapes. First Tybat sounded like yes, later it sounded like no. Tybat went to Africa for weeks, and that matter never became resolved. See that? Glendora, yes, I see it. So? Sarok, and if you keep reading to the next paragraph, Glendora, okay, Glendora's reading. Glendora was planning to ask Tybat to mail. Mr. Sarok, no. I'm telling you, this is like Gilbert and Sullivan. Get down to the issue. Did Savarino do it or didn't she do it? Deny it or admit it? Glendora, I'm going to read it. Tapes to Glendora, U.S. Postal Service. Mr. Sarok, you don't have to read it out loud. Cover up everything you can. Mr. Sarok. Glendora, mandated by media mail with Glendora providing the $9 postage. Glendora applies to the court for the order for the same, and Glendora supplying the $9 postage. Mr. Sorrow, and I never did get my tapes back. To this day, Taibat Salako has stolen my tapes. To this day. I got them back from Wappingers, but I never got them back from Taibat. Mr. Sorrow, you can stop reading. Glendora, Taibat had not acted in good faith. The court, okay, there's no question before you right now. Mr. Sorrow, no, there's no pending at this moment. Glendora, what? The court, there's no question pending right now. Mr. Sorrow. And then if you look on page 19, paragraph upsilon, says he, it's not upsilon, it's upsilon. Glendora, paragraph 19. Mr. Sorrow. Then Taibat volunteered that she had talked to Cecilia, and Cecilia said you were bad. Is that you? Glendora, wait a second. Where are you? It's 2 p.m. and it's November 7th, the day after Election Day. And we're going to read this for, I think, 10 minutes more. Let me check the counter. How you doing, folks? Isn't this a waste of life and a waste of the courts? That's right. It's up to 47, 15 minutes more. We work on this another hour today, and that's it for today. I do legal papers for 5 hours a day. Well, yesterday it was like 7 or 8 hours to get this served. This was all served yesterday, these minutes. Mr. Sarrock, paragraph upsilon, page 19. Glendora, just a second. The White Plains City Court never bothered with this complaint. They never even read it. The case was dismissed because of default judgment. These things are not at issue. The court, okay, he has not made that argument yet. So just follow along, and if he asks you to read something or respond to something, do so at this time. Mr. Sarrock, is that your handwriting in that paragraph? Well, the whole thing is my handwriting. Haven't we established that 10 times? Glendora, I don't see where it is. Where is it? Mr. Sarrock, paragraph upsilon, page 19. Glendora, then Taibat volunteered that she had talked to Cecilia, and Cecilia said, you were bad, and what do you want me to say? Mr. Sarrock, is that your handwriting? Glendora, yes. Mr. Sarrock, did you write that? Glendora, yes, that's ridiculous. Mr. Sarrock, and it says, now court, you have the cause of action, Cecilia, extortion, and Taibat, accessory before the fact and after the fact. Is that what it says? That's what it says. What are we doing this for, Judge Wood? This case is not the Cecilia case. This is the Savarino case. Don't you see that you're being led around? You're deliberately being put off of the real issue at the case, which is Savarino, chasing away my signers and making me go get more signers, and that costs me money, and I'm entitled to the damages. You don't want to see the real issue, do you, Wood? Glendora, that's what it says. Sarrock, is that your handwriting? Glendora, yes! Sarrock, do you? Glendora, look, I've signed this paper. It's my handwriting all the way through. Mr. Sarrock, you submitted that complaint in White Plains, correct? Glendora, they never paid any attention to it. Yes. Sarah, and are there any other of your sponsors in the court today other than Miss Salako? Glendora, no. Mr. Sarrock, and you have no other witness you intend to bring forward concerning your allegation that Miss Savarino caused them not to renew their sponsorship or to become sponsors for your cable show? Is that correct? I reserve. Court, you reserve what? Glendora, my answer to that question. Mr. Sarrock, in fact, as far as Miss Savarino, you haven't spoken with her in over 3 years. Is that correct? Glendora, I have to stop and think. I spoke to her in January of 2004 and she hung up. Mr. Sarrock, have you spoken to her since? Glendora, don't know. I have to remember. Mr. Sarek, when was the last time you spoke to her before that? Before that? Mr. Sarek, before the January date. Glendora, I would have to stop and think. Mr. Sarek, is it your understanding that pursuant to the sponsorship agreements, the person whom Cablevision communicates with is exclusively the local resident signing on your behalf as a producer? That is not my understanding. No. Mr. Sarek, take a look at the exhibit. Glendora, Judge, did you hear that? That they will not talk to the public access producer? The court, you indicated that already. Mr. Sarek, if you take a look at what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit A, and you go to Exhibit 6, and I can open it for you if you'd like me to. Glendora, yes please. Mr. Sarek, and you'll see a document entitled Public Educational and Government Access Kit. Tell me if you recognize that document. Glendora, no, I don't recognize it. Mr. Sarek, could you please take a look at it? The judge, what page are we on here? Which exhibit is it? This is exhibit that you should have read before you got to the bench. This has already been submitted to the court and already discussed and adjudicated. The court, what page are you on here? Which exhibit is this? Mr. Sarek, it's Exhibit 6. It's attached to an affidavit of Cecilia Masterilli, which was all lies. Glendora, small claims is supposed to be a simplified procedure. Park Avenue doesn't belong here. This is pro se turf. Mr. Sarek, if you would take a look at Judge, attorneys are permitted in small claims. If the defendant wishes to have an attorney to defend, the defendant has that right. Why isn't the defendant here if she hasn't done anything wrong? Glendora, you're pro-lawyer, she tells Judge Wood. You're pro-lawyer. Mr. Sarek, did you recognize that document? Glendora, I don't know what you mean by recognize it. Mr. Sarek, have you seen a document like this before? Yes. Mr. Sarek, okay, and what is it? Glendora, I don't know. It says it's a public education and governmental access kit for which there is no statutory authority. Mr. Sarek, and Glendora, if Mrs. Christine Savarino were here, I could get that through to the judge. Mr. Sarek, so you've seen documents somewhere like this before? Glendora, question asked, question answered. Mr. Sarek, you've seen documents somewhere like this before? The court. She said yes. Mr. Sarek, okay, and in fact your local sponsors submit applications pursuant to the rules contained herein, correct? I don't know. Mr. Sarek, and if you look at page 6, page 7, the first paragraph on the page, what does this have to do? How does this absolve Savarino for costing me all that money to go back and get replacements for all of my signers that she chased away? Answer that, Judge Wood. Okay, up to page 76. You'll see that on page 7, the first paragraph. Look at the first paragraph. I'd ask you to read that, please. You'll have to read it to me. I cannot see it. Mr. Sarek, you can't read it? Glendora, no, I can't see in this, meaning the light of this courtroom. Mr. Sarek, do you wear glasses? I'm asking you a question. Do you wear glasses? Glendora, abstain. The court, what's the problem with reading it? Glendora, read it to me, please. Mr. Sarek, Judge, I've asked for her to read it. If she's representing she can't read it because she has a vision problem, I'll read it. Glendora, without saying I have a vision problem or not, if you want me to answer it, you had best read it. Judge, are you refusing to read it out loud? Glendora, where did you get out loud from? Where'd that come from? First of all, we're talking about reading it. Judge, okay, I'm going to give you 25, 30 seconds to read it. I cannot read it in this light. The light in this courtroom it's a beautiful courtroom, but the light is no good. The court, okay, the printing in this is no different from the printing that, oh yes it is. I was reading my own handwriting before. The court, Mr. Sarek, Your Honor, I'll read it to expedite this. All this costs all money and time. Sebastian, do you want to come in? Sebastian cat, do you want to come in? Kitty, 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 kitty. We have another stray kitty around here. I showed him to you. Alright, so Sarok capitulates and he reads it. Mr. Sarok, read it out loud. Mr. Sark, a program produced by a person who does not live within Cablevision service areas is eligible for cable casting on a Cablevision access channel. If a resident of the Cablevision area sponsors the program, it assumes all obligations hereunder by becoming an applicant. Cablevision deals exclusively with applicants. Are you familiar with those Cablevision rules? Glendora said yes, but what is the statutory authority of that? That's a big issue. They have no statutory authority of that. Just because Cablevision says it's so, it's so? No, not at all. There is no law that says that. I don't believe that, Glendora says, and that has never been proven to me that you have any statutory authority, either federal, state, or municipal, for such a claim. Just because you say it, it is not so. Page 78. Mr. Sarok, I don't have much more, Your Honor. He doesn't quite refute that, does he? You've admitted in your papers that Miss Savarino did not breach any contract. Is that correct? Glendora, I don't know. Where? Mr. Sarok, you say in your papers that you don't allege breach of contract. Glendora, show me where it says that. Mr. Sarok, did you represent in your papers to the court there's no breach of contract claim alleged against Miss Savarino? Yes. That was court error. This court made quite a few errors, Judge. For instance, I paid $40 for this case. I paid $20 once, and because this court lost it, and I felt sorry for the people, so I paid it twice. So if I get my judgment, I would like $40 cost. The court, okay, if receipts show that $40 was paid, the cost will be reflected. Well, the receipts showed that, and Judge Wood, did you give me back my $20? No, you stole it. You and Anthony the clerk and the rest of the people there. Just the way you stole justice and just the way you stole rights. Glendora, yes, they're all in the papers. All the receipts are there. The court, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves at this point, though. Glendora, well, I'm not going to get another chance, so, Mr. Sarok, and you admit there's no breach of contract claim or contract with respect to this Sulaco, is that correct? Glendora, no, that was court error. I don't know why the court did that, and you should have got a copy of what the court sent me, and I should have got a copy of what the court sent you. And I asked them that, and it was declined. You should have come up here and seen that file. You should have seen my application to the court, and you didn't see it. Mr. Sarah, is it your testimony that at one point in time, Miss Sulaco decided that she didn't want to renew her sponsorship on your behalf? Is that correct? Glendora, what did you say? Mr. Sarah, Miss Sulaco at some point in time decided she no longer wanted to be your sponsor. Is that correct? Well, ask her. Is that correct? Glendora, yes, it's prima facie. You've gone over and over that. And so, we'll go to page 80, and that's where we'll stop, folks. And in an hour or so, we'll resume. Mr. Sarok, and she told you she no longer wanted to be your sponsor because she was going to Africa. Is that correct? Glendora, that is what she said. Mr. Sarok, you called her multiple times in attempts to convince her to renew her sponsorship, correct? Glendora, I did not. That is not correct. By that time, I had a nice new sponsor, a nice person, who kept her word and wouldn't let Cablevision poison her. I'd like to add, Mr. Sarok, I think you mentioned it earlier, but do you know what extortion is? Glendora, extortion is making a person do something against his will by threatening him. Now, if you want me to go look in Black's dictionary what extortion is, give me time. Mr. Sorrock, are you aware of whether there's a civil claim for extortion? Glendora, excuse me? Mr. Sorrock, civil claim for extortion. Glendora, what are you saying? The court, all right, Mr. Sorrock. Mr. Sorrock, I'll withdraw the question. Well, there is a civil claim for extortion, and it's Title 18, the Criminal Code, and it's the RICO, Racketeer Influence Crime Organization, RICO, Racketeer Influence Crime Organization, Section 1963. There is a civil RICO. Okay, folks, I'll see you later, I hope.